YouTube family, hello and welcome to another practice with me, catmeffan. This is a prenatal practice, yoga for when you are feeling super lethargic, really low energy, but this practice is also going to serve as a bit of a birth preparation practice as well. So if you're getting closer to that due date, I'm in my third trimester, so I'm having a lot more of those slower days. And this isn't about trying to fight the low energy. This is about really just honoring it, being with it, and just using slow and subtle movement just to feel like we've connected to our baby, our body, our breath, and our emotions. And that's really what we're going to be doing today. I do recommend if you have a bolster to grab a bolster because you're going to want that today. If you don't, have something that you can sit up on so that you feel really comfortable seated. But we'll also be using the bolster to lean on, to put our hands on or our forearms on. So if you don't have a bolster, you could set your mat up close to a bed or a chair or your sofa, just so you've got a little bit of extra support today. So let's get into it. I'm going to sit actually to the side here, straddling my bolster, just because you might want to actually be able to see this breath. Now, if you've practiced with me in a few prenatal practices, you might be used to this. If you're a Soul Sanctuary member and you've been doing my prenatal practices on there, then you'll know this breath. So we are going to be finding this connection to both the pelvic floor, but also the transverse abdominis, just a little bit. We're not going to be sort of coming too far into this kind of like corset transverse abdominis, because I really want you to find that scooping lift from the anus all the way through the pelvic floor as we find our exhale. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a shift of that breath and how that can be used for birth. So just for a moment, let's just close down the eyes. I'm really just checking in with yourself. Now, you probably clicked on this video maybe because it said yoga for low energy or yoga for when you feel lethargic. So naturally, you kind of know that that's where you're at right now. And can you just for a moment just say, I accept. I accept and I surrender. I accept and I surrender. Because often this is the hardest part of feeling our energy changing. For some people, it might be super easy just having like the body telling you to slow down. But for many people, it's really hard to slow down. So finding that trust, that acceptance, and that surrender for this phase that you're in is really, really important. And we're just going to find some nice deep breaths here. So you'll inhale through the nose and you'll exhale through the nose or the mouth. It's really up to you. I don't mind. And like I said, you'll find this slight engagement of the transverse abdominis, so the muscles that are wrapping round baby. But I want you to focus on that pelvic floor lifting on that exhale. So we inhale and we exhale. Might be quite nice to blow out the exhale through the mouth if that feels good. And you're just going to take this in your own time. You're going to do 10 of these in total. Another 5 breaths like this. And last one. And keeping the eyes closed, you're just going to bring your hands onto baby. I don't mind where, it could be around the sides, cradling underneath, one up, one down. Whatever feels good for you here, just finding that touch connection. Maybe you even feel baby kick. And trusting that this energy flow that you're going through, this need to slow down, it's just because baby needs a little bit more of your energy today just to feel that sense of nurturing. And releasing the hands, you can drop the chin down to the chest and start to take a few half neck rolls going around each way. So down through center, up to one side, down through center again. And just keep moving side to side here, maybe noticing any parts of the neck that feel particularly icky. And then maybe keeping that chin down to chest, taking the hands interlaced behind the head and just rolling through the upper spine. And you might get this really glorious, might not be glorious for you, but I love it, this beautiful kind of like neuro sensation across the thoracic spine here. And you can kind of floss here with that nerve. Maybe lift a bit, lower a bit. And then lifting all the way up. Keep the head connected to the hands here and just open through the throat and take a big releasing breath. Sighing out that exhale. And as much of that kind of noise that you want to make today is welcome, especially those of you using this practice as more of a birth prep. So, just releasing down the hands now, coming back to a neutral spine. We're just going to move some energy through the hands. You can do this really small by just inhaling, lift, exhaling, lower. Or if you're feeling like you've got a little bit more energy, you can gather the energy all the way up around the sides. And then exhale, bring it down. And we're just going to do 4 of these. So breathing with me. We inhale, reach and gather that energy up. Exhale, letting go and pushing down. All of those little niggles that aren't serving us. Let's fill ourselves up again on the inhale, drawing in that good positive energy. And then exhale. 2 more like that. Inhale, lifting it up. And exhale down. Last one. And release. Beautiful. Rolling those shoulders back 3 times. And then rolling those shoulders forwards 3 times. And then you're going to lift up your bottom and just slide your bolster out from underneath you. Now, your bolster now can kind of live crossways along the top of your mat here. Like I said before, it might be that you're fine with hands down on your mat, but this can just provide a little bit more of a softening. And you can do it on your elbows or you can have your hands on your bolster. And just from here, kind of like in an all-fours position, but I've chosen to take my elbows down. I'm just going to take my knees a little bit wider than hip width. I'm just going to start to find some circles here. So I'm not super wide, just gently 5 circles going in each direction. And going the other way. Beautiful. And now you're going to stay, you can edge those knees underneath the hips a little more now if that feels good. If it feels good to keep them apart, that's fine. So just a little bit of an explanation here. The natural mechanics of your pelvic floor and your breath is that when we inhale, our pelvic floor is relaxed, and when we exhale, our pelvic floor contracts. Now, the only time that we would really ever go against that is maybe in this kind of like birth prep scenario. But it's really super important that the nuance here is that we don't take this into life off the mat and outside of birth, because we want to be strengthening that pelvic floor. But obviously, when we come into birth, we might just want to try and find a full relaxation. So all I'm asking you to do here is, rather than kind of lift that pelvic floor on your exhale, see if you can relax it. And this, like I say, is a standalone exercise. It's super important that I stress this. A standalone exercise purely for birth preparation. This is not something that you want to change the natural mechanics of your breath, okay? So if just from wherever you are in this all fours position, and you can kind of take a sway forwards and backwards, finding a breath. And can you feel that sense of release in the pelvic floor as you exhale? And we're just going to go for 5 of these. We don't want to overdo it. Last one. Amazing. Well done. Now pushing up onto your hands now if you can. And you're going to step this right foot pretty wide on your mat here. And this is where, if you don't have a bolster, you could lean yourself up on a chair. And we're just going to get into the groin a little bit here. We're going to slowly start to slide out towards that right knee, coming over those right toes. If you need to, of course, place something underneath your knees to protect them if they're a little bit sore here. I'm just going to move into that right leg. Beautiful. One more time. Nice. Now from here, your left foot's going to come out a little bit on the diagonal. You're going to step or slide this right foot all the way to the back of the mat and then reach that right arm up and over. You can see that I'm lifted here on my bolster. This feels good for me. You could absolutely not have the bolster, or you could be a little bit lower. Entirely up to you. Reaching that right arm up and over. And let's really inhale, find the reach of that right arm. And then exhale, draw that right elbow back in towards the body. Inhale, reach. Exhale, draw that elbow in. Inhale, reach. Exhale, draw that elbow back in. Beautiful. Come all the way back around so that the left foot is now again back on your mat. And you're going to step your right foot once again to the outside, but a little bit closer to your bolster now. You're going to shift the hips back and lengthen through this right leg. So this is a wide-legged half split. You can find some articulation here through that right leg, moving it side to side. Maybe point and flex the toes and just see how it feels in that hamstring. It might be feeling really, really tense and tight here, so just ease with the breath. Then pushing up onto the hands, we're going to slide that right leg out to the side now. Might want to roll your bolster in a little bit onto the elbows if that feels good. And from here, we're going to take pelvic tilts. So you're going to tilt into that left leg and then you're going to open. It's kind of like a hip dip. So you're going to dip the hip, the right hip, and then lift it up. And you're going to feel a little more of a stretch into the right side groin. And then you can start to move forwards and backwards. And like I said at the start, I welcome any sound that wants to come out here. It can be a oh. And I know that that can feel a bit strange, but this is such a beautiful way to not only feel a sense of release, but this is parasympathetic nervous system connection, activating that vagus nerve. So from using that sound, that humming exhale, ooh, that's a way that we can bring ourselves into a calmer state. And like I say, perfect for birth. And then slowly bringing that right knee all the way in. And just for a moment, let's push ourselves all the way back. Sit back on the heels. And we're going to take those 4 gathering energy breaths again with the arms. Doesn't matter how high you want to take the arms. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale. Inhaling, lift. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last time, breathing in. And release. Amazing. Hands coming onto your bolster. This time we're going to take all of that over to the left side. So left foot coming to the outside, but kind of quite far onto the outside. We want to be moving, remember, into the hip here. So hands can be on the bolster and you're just going to slide the hips. So the knee is coming over that left ankle. And you can be lower down on those forearms if that feels good. And then lifting those hips back through neutral. You're going to turn that right foot just out on the diagonal. We're going to come to our side plank here. So left foot goes all the way down to the end of the mat and that left arm reaches up and over by the ear. Find an inhale here as you lengthen those left fingertips all the way over. And then exhale, draw that left elbow in towards the body. Inhale, find length. Exhale. Inhale, last time. Exhale. And then unraveling yourself all the way back around. Beautiful. And we'll step that left foot once again forwards. This time it's coming a little bit closer to your bolster as we find our half split here. And you can articulate through that foot and that left leg just to feel into where the sweet spot of that stretch is for your hamstrings. Last breath here. And then we're sliding that left leg out to the left side. You can roll the bolster in slightly, elbows to the bolster or hands to the mat. And let's take the hip dips, so the side to side one to begin with. So opening and closing through the hips. And then when you feel good too, you can kind of take it forwards and backwards. And again, the welcoming of any vocalizing that you would like to find here. And then slowly gliding that left leg all the way back in. And let's just take a sit back onto the heels for a moment. This time, let's roll the shoulders back twice. And then roll the shoulders forwards twice. Beautiful. So you're just going to slide onto your bottom as you bring the legs around in front of you. Now, depending on how big bump and baby are right now in your journey, depending on where you are in your journey, you might find this that you can't quite get as deep into the stretch here. We're going to take a seated figure 4. So you're going to take your left ankle onto the right knee, and then you want to kind of like walk yourself in to feel kind of where compact feels good for you, so that you're getting this stretch through the glute and the IT band. But obviously, like I say, if there's a big bumpy baby in your way, then give baby that space and just kind of ease the stretch. It doesn't need to be super intense. And just close down the eyes and breathe here. Maybe you welcome in a little bit of a sway. And then gently, when you're ready, you'll release and take it to the other side. So bringing that right ankle on top of the left knee. And finding that beautiful little side to side dance here, if that feels good. And then gently releasing. You're going to take your legs out. I'm going to give you a couple of options here. So either you'll take this as more of like a bolster hug. So you can pop your bolster up like this and find just a really gentle forward fold. So it's kind of almost just like a super passive release. If you would like to, really just depends where you're at in your journey and what you're feeling for today. And hopefully you'll come back to this class time and time again, and you can again notice how you feel. For me, I'm going to choose, rather than to take a forward fold, I'm going to choose to use this as a little bit of a moment just to get softly, very softly into my hips and groin. So I've taken my legs a little bit wider and I'm going to lean down on my bolster. But really just honoring what it is that you need right now, not feeling the need to force anything, to do what I'm doing. And wherever you are, you'll close down your eyes and really just release through the breath. And gently, you'll start to lift yourself up. And then we're going to come into a malasana. So you could draw your bolster in and sit yourself up on that that bolster. Now, getting there from this position, I recommend just rolling over to your side, pushing up on one hand as you slide the bolster in, and then you can sit up on your bolster. If you've got another way that you'd like to get there, then you absolutely can. If you don't want to take your malasana supported and you don't want your bolster, then that's absolutely fine. If you need a little bit more height, you can place blocks underneath it to lift your hips a little bit more. So just finding what's going to feel good for you here today. And just to begin with, let's find stillness here. And then if it feels good to you, you can place the fingertips down and you can start to shift side to side, so lifting up onto the ball of each foot as you shift. And then slowly, if you don't have your bolster underneath you, you'll draw that back in. And we'll come back to that same position that we started in. Now, here as well is an opportunity for you to drop into a shavasana of your choice. Now, if you can have your throne set up. So that would be blocks or a bolster with your bolster going upwards to keep you lifted, or you can lay on your side with your bolster between your knees. If you feel that you want to just finish the class seated in the same way that we started, then you can join me here. But really just knowing what it is that you need. Remember, you came to this practice with that kind of low lethargic energy. It could be that just laying down for 5-10 minutes, way after I've been speaking and way after this video is finished, maybe that's what you need. So wherever you've chosen to be, let's close down the eyes, feeling those eyelids heavy. And maybe the whole body starts to feel a little heavy as you root down into the space that you are in. Not just physically, but we root down into this chapter of life. And let's come back to those words, acceptance and surrender. Because this is an extremely sacred journey that you are on, full of change, full of adventure, growth, and challenge. So how can we keep coming back to this feeling of trust, this feeling of acceptance and surrender? Can you feel your whole forehead relaxing, that space between the eyebrows, the eyes and the eyelashes relaxing? Feeling your nose relax, your ears, your lips, your teeth, your jaw. Feeling the shoulders relax, releasing downwards. The arms and the hands and the fingers relax. Feeling your chest and your heart relax. Can you even witness baby relax? Drawing energy down into your seat, relaxing into the hips and the pelvis. Relaxing the legs, the feet and the toes. Keeping the eyes closed, bring one or two hands onto your baby. And just through the power of touch, sending a little bit of love into this space. Bringing the palms together in front of you. Just rubbing the hands, finding that energetic sensation between the palms as you feel the warmth rising. And then we'll place that warmth and that energy over the eyes. We'll drag the hands down with that energy over the heart space. And then draw them down into the womb space, onto baby. Let's take an inhale here. And let it go. Thank you all so much. I'm sending you and your baby a lot of love. YouTube family, it's an absolute pleasure to practice with you. Like I mentioned at the start, there are so many prenatal practices now over on the Soul Sanctuary. So if you do want a bit more of this, then come and join me over there. Or if you want to deepen your yoga practice later down the line when baby is here, then you know where to find me. It's been an honor practicing with you. Drop me a comment, let me know how you found it. Give it a little like, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you for another practice hopefully very soon. Bye bye.